Good morning, everyone. Today's topic is the virtue of compassion, which is defined as a sympathetic awareness of another person's distress, along with a desire to alleviate that distress. Some people confuse it with pity, but it's not the same thing, and pity rarely goes beyond feeling sorry for somebody. Compassion is much, much more. The sacred traditions from all over the world all testify to its importance. When Christ uttered the words, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," and then allowed himself to be crucified, he demonstrated compassion in the highest possible form. The Dalai Lama has said, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. He also adds that compassion is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity for the survival of the species. Dr. James Doty is the director of the Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education, that's a mouthful, at Stanford University. And he makes some very telling points in an article that he published called The Science of Compassion. And one of the first points he makes is that if you talk to people about compassion and you speak to them on the level of a spiritual virtue, you're not going to get a whole lot of interest. But once you mention that it has health benefits, people suddenly sit up and take notice. I'm afraid that's human nature at work. But the more we begin to understand it, the more rich will be our response, I'm sure. Do we spend as much time developing our spiritual muscles, in this case compassion, as much time doing that as we do our diet and our muscles? We need to remember that in order to develop these virtues, it does require time and energy and consciousness. But the truth is, it does improve our health. And Dr. Doty goes on and says that, it is not just our physical well-being that improves, it's also our mental well-being, and how important that is for all of us. While survival of the fittest may lead to a short-term gain, it's survival of the kindest that enables our species to succeed and has over many, many centuries. So how do we do that? We do that by making time for the practice of simple acts of kindness. We do that by being kind to animals or getting involved in community service. We do that also by sharing. There's a wonderful episode from the life of Mother Teresa in India, whose mission, if you remember, was to serve the poorest of the poor. A wealthy Indian woman came to her and said she wanted to help with that effort. And so Mother Teresa told her that the first thing she should do was buy a less expensive sari that month. And the next month, another less expensive sari. And that whatever money was saved would be given to the poor. So that's what the woman did for many, many months. And at the end of that time, she came to Mother Teresa and told her that her whole life had been changed and that she actually received much more than she gave. It's a beautiful story and one that we can take to heart. One other really important aspect of compassion is practicing self-compassion. The fact is, we all mess up from time to time, and then we tell ourselves horrible things. I'm stupid, oh, what a jerk, or whatever. But that is not practicing compassion in a well-rounded way. We're not supposed to say hurtful things about anybody else, so we shouldn't be saying it about ourselves either. We are also creatures of God. We are also deserving of that compassion. So drop the negative self-talk. It is not good for us, and it certainly doesn't help us develop compassion towards anybody. Leo Babauta, and I'm sure that I'm mispronouncing his name, and I apologize in advance, is a wonderful writer, and it brings a Buddhist perspective to the subjects that he writes about. And he suggests a wonderful exercise for developing compassion. Ideally, you practice this towards the same person each time. But you take time, you focus on the person that you're expressing a concern for, and you do these 5 steps, and you might want to jot them down. So you close your eyes, You focus on that other person. And step 1 is you say to yourself, just like me, this person is seeking happiness in their life. Step number 2 is to continue that focus and say, just like me, this person is trying to avoid suffering in their life. Step number 3, just like me, this person has known sadness, despair, loneliness. Step number 4, just like me, this person is seeking fulfillment in their life. And step number 5, just like me, this person is learning about life. In closing, here are some inspiring words from the writer William Faulkner. Quote, I believe that man will not merely endure, he will prevail. He is immortal, not because he alone among creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit capable of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. So that's the end of our topic for today. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, and if you feel, as I do, that education for virtue is vital in the building of a more just and equitable world, then I'd like to invite you to visit my Patreon page and consider becoming a patron. It would be a way that you could also support the work that I'm doing. Your contribution would enable me to take the time that is required to make these videos. And I have lots of dreams for future ones. I welcome you to subscribe to my channel and to hit the like button and the bell and to visit the Patreon page. Thank you so much.